Courage is not the absence of fear, it's the decision to move while you're still shaking. Hey y'all, welcome to MINDSHiFT Monday, where we shift the way we think so that we can shift the way that we live. I'm Robert Kennedy III, RK3, that's me, and today we're diving into what it means to lead and to speak with vulnerable confidence, the kind that merges courage with creativity. Hey, are y'all ready? What's going on? D collects cash. What's happening on Instagram? KJ940, so good to see you on Instagram. Okay, where are my YouTube people? Hey, Don Kirk, what's going on, my friend? How you doing this morning? If you're on another channel and you want the shout out, hey, my Substack people, what's going on this morning? How y'all doing? I'm so glad that y'all are here. Listen, if you want to join us for the after show, make sure that you join us at MINDShiftMonday.com/Zoom. Head on over to that channel right at 8 o'clock, and we're going to be hanging out here. TL Speaks, so good to see you. C. Marie B, so good to see you this morning. Happy Monday. Yes. All right. If you want to know when we're going live, text live to 240-557-8679. Yeah, we're getting ready to rock and roll. Y'all, remember, you don't have to be fearless to be effective. You just have to be real. Let's do this thing. Let's get this show started. Bam. Oh, yeah. What is going on, my people? I do not have my water this morning. Yeah, I need to get my water, but I need to get somebody to bring me water. Oh yeah, listen y'all, it is a fabulous Monday, Alexandria Nicole, ooh, my people, what is going on? So glad that y'all are here. Hey y'all, I'm traveling a little bit. I'm going to be in Boston on the 29th, speaking to group up there, and then in Houston on the 1st and the 2nd. So if you're in any of those areas, let me know, and we'll say what's up. All right. Why am I bringing these up today? I'll share that with you in just a moment. But I want to start out with this. We've been told that confidence means control. How many of y'all have been told this or thought that confidence is control? Confidence means no nerves, no cracks, no hesitation. But what if the most powerful thing that you can do as a leader, as a business owner, as a storyteller, is to show up how you feel, right? So I'm going to get really vulnerable for just a moment. Ooh, yeah. This weekend, I attended a marriage event, and there were probably 30, maybe, I don't know, 20 other couples there. And there are a lot of different things that happened at this marriage event. We walked through different things that we need to walk to show or strategies for making your life and your relationship better. And my wife and I, at some point during the event, closer to the event, were called on to volunteer doing something. Okay, I've got so much stuff in my way here this morning. Yeah, this weekend was I was recording some old cassette tapes I was digitizing some stuff. So there's stuff all over my office right now. Okay, neither here nor there. Anyway, so my wife and I, hey, Kendra Dodd, Milton Dodd, good to see you all on Instagram. Lorenda Jones, so good to see you. Don Kirk Lewis, my dude, Danny, good to see you this morning on YouTube. Anyway, so my wife and I were called on to volunteer. We were called on to take part in this demonstration during this marriage retreat. Now, the goal, or what they asked us to do, was to affirm each other. But we had a time frame that we had to do it within. So my wife had to affirm me for a minute straight, at least a minute. And I had to do the same for her. And the reason was that too often, as couples, as people, as friends, as we don't often we don't often affirm each other in an intentional way. Right? So community building. If any of you have ever been through something like this, just say yes or type yes in the chat. British PR girl, what's going on? Good to see you this morning. Tyran Jackson, good to see you this morning. So my wife started affirming me. She's, we're standing in front of each other, holding each other's hands, and she is affirming me. And she's talking and she's saying all of the different things. Babe, I love that you're a dreamer. I love that you see things in a big picture way. And so she's going and she's doing this. And man, I gotta tell you, I'm feeling good. I mean, my wife says she affirms me regularly. But this was, in front of people. This was in front of people. We're holding hands, we're looking each other in the eyes, and it was good. So she finishes her affirmations, and now it's my turn. So I start to affirm her. I start to share how awesome she is as a wife, how awesome she is as a mother. I love the relationship that she has with her kids. I love how adventurous she is. I love that she's willing to try new things. I love her cooking. I love, and I'm sharing all this stuff. And halfway through, my wife squeezes my hand. I could feel her. She's holding my hands, and I feel her squeeze my hands like really tight. And I'm like, what's going on? Why is she squeezing my hand? Now, normally, if I'm on stage and my wife is beside me, if she's holding my hand, or if I'm somewhere doing something, my wife starts squeezing my hand. That means, dude, you're talking too much. You need to wrap this up. That's her wrap it up music. Or if I said something I shouldn't have said, like the knee under the table type thing, my wife's squeezing my hand. So I'm thinking, oh God, okay, I did something. What am I missing? I'm like, I'm affirming you. Why are you trying to cut me short? So I finish my affirmations. I finish sharing about what my affirmations for her. And so later on, we're speaking about this. And she told me that as I was speaking to her and I was holding her hands, my hands were shaking. And she says, why were your hands shaking? You're talking to me. We're in front of, our friends. And, why were your hands shaking? I was squeezing your hands to try to get you to calm down, or try to get them to stop shaking, or to let you be aware that your hands were shaking. And I told her something that surprised her. I told her that this happens to me quite often. More often than not, when I get up to speak, more often than not, when I'm in front of people, there's some shaking going on. Right? We've been married for 25 years, and she's heard me talk about nerves before, but she didn't realize that after all this time that I still walk through some things. And here's what happens, right? When I'm speaking, when I'm on stage, I typically go through a warm-up sequence to redirect, right? If I know that I've got to speak, I'm preparing to speak, I tell my mind, I tell my body, I give myself some messages. Backstage, I'm doing shadow boxing, I'm doing different things to redirect my energy. But on the spot, I don't always get to do that, right? But I do it anyway. I stand up and I speak anyway. Lorenda Jones is like, you, Rob? No, it's the real deal. Yes. On the spot, though, if I'm called on the spot, I don't always get to go through my warm-up sequence. But guess what? I can't stop in the moment to say, hold on, y'all. Wait a minute. Got to do my warm-up. Bam, bam, bam. Jump, jump, jump. I don't always have the opportunity to do that. But I still have a job to do. I still get to speak. I still get to show up. I still get to be in front, even while shaking. So what do you do? What is it that you do, especially if you're up front and you're a leader? I've been on stage where I'm speaking and you can literally see the mic shaking in my hand. I'm watching some videos back and you can see my hand going just like this with the microphone shaking. But I'm talking. I'm speaking. I've got a message to share. I have been ordained. I've been tapped. I've been given the responsibility to share some stuff. And so I do it. So as a leader, as a business owner, as somebody with a story, what do you do? Man, when the camera, the red light goes on, when the lens is in your face, when the microphone is in front, what do you do? How do you show up? Do you hide? Or do you acknowledge the nerves? Brené Brown, if you've ever heard of Brené Brown, she is a researcher that speaks on vulnerability and shame. And she's become a global authority on it. I mean, she has a TED Talk that was delivered in about 2010 that's been viewed close to 7 million times. Right? Brené Brown is been on stage for a very long time. But there's a story of her in 2007 where she was doing a presentation on vulnerability to 500 women. While giving the presentation, she began to feel more and more nervous. Right? The slides began to blur together and she could feel her body beginning to shake and her voice beginning to tremor. She was starting to have a full-blown panic attack. Like diagnosed panic attack on stage while she was delivering her presentation. So what did she do? Well, here's what she did. She closed her laptop with all of her slides and came out from behind the podium that she was behind. And she began to talk about shame. She began to talk about her feelings. She began to talk about what she was going through right at that moment and why she was feeling that way. From her memory, she'd done the work. She'd done the research. She talked about shame. She just did an oral delivery without her slides. Right? And she began to talk about shame and how our world is built quite often to cause us to feel shame. And that's why we live the way that we do. And she inside of that, people began to connect. People began to connect because here's the deal. She had these slides. She had this presentation that she put together, but people don't connect with polish. They connect with presence, right? She began to be real and just talk about why she struggled, what she was going through in that moment. Quite often, people, leaders, maybe this is you, often believe they have to project certainty in order to be respected. I don't know what meeting you're going into this week. I don't know what pitch you're going into this week. I don't know what's happening in your space this week. But if you have the thought that you have to project certainty, if you have to project that you know it all, if you have to project that you got it right, that you've been here before, that you are calm, collected, cool in every circumstance in order to be respected, that's not it. Trying to appear perfect creates distance instead of trust. So let's go back to Brené Brown for a second. Here's how she manages that fear. She's got this system that she talks about called above the line, below the line. All right, above the line, below the line. When fear shapes our behavior, we are below the line. right? When fear is driving us, we slip into some stuff, right? We slip into the hero, the victim, or the villain. When fear is driving us, we slip into the rescuer, the hero, who has to fix everything. How do I know that I'm there? How do I know that I'm there? Well, if you're the one that is saying, fine, I'll just do it myself. That's how you know you're in hero mode. Why doesn't anybody get stuff right? I just have to do it. If you struggle with delegation, if you're like, okay, if it's going to be done if it needs to be done, if it's going to get done in this way, I've got to be the one to do it. That is fear talking. Why is that fear talking? It's fear talking because you don't trust anyone else to do things a certain way. And maybe you don't trust yourself to train them to do things a certain way. So you've got to be the hero. And if you've got to be the hero, then fear is driving you. Fear is driving you. I'm not saying don't be heroic, but if you have to be the hero, then fear is driving you. And when fear is driving you, you're below the line. Another way that you know is you may be playing the victim. Poor me. Why me? Why does everything always happen to me? No one's looking out for me. The victim. Now, we live in a crazy society. We live in a world where the society is not fair to everybody. Society is set up so that some groups of people are treated differently than others. I know some people don't want to agree with that. I know some people don't want to talk about the systemic stuff. I know some people don't want to talk about, the theories about how society is set up. It is. That's how our society is set up for some people to have certain privileges and others have to work harder to gain those privileges. But if you're in your mindset and your mindset says, poor me, why me, society is against me, everything always happens to me, no one's looking out for me, then you have embraced and taken on the victim mentality. How society is set up and how your mind is set up are two different things. If you're operating in poor me, why me, then you're operating below the line. The third way is what we call the villain, right? The critic or the blamer who steamrolls others, that looks for this scapegoat, looks for a finger to point. Y'all know anybody like that who's always looking to point the finger at somebody else, never takes responsibility, but they're always looking to point the finger at somebody else. That is fear. That is not authority. It's not identity. It's fear. It's fear. Now, here's the other side of this, and here's how Brené Brown suggests dealing with this. You can live through fear, you can operate through fear, or you can acknowledge fear. Right? How does a leader lead through fear? Well, a leader can lead through fear as a coach. When you don't understand something, you ask the question, hey, help me to understand. When things aren't going the right way, help me to understand this. When things didn't turn out the way that you expected it to, when you feel that, help me to understand how come this exists. You acknowledge the fear and you can challenge it. You can live as a challenger. Hey, have we thought about the downsides? What about as a creator? And this is the lens that I frequently look through. What can we build out of this? Right? People don't say I forgot who said this. They say you don't fail, you learn. Failure is feedback. Something happens, something breaks down. You're like, okay, what can we build out of this? What can we use? What can we launch from this? Right? Pay attention to your language. Pay attention to your language, because guess what? Even in the midst of failure, even in the midst of your fear, even in the midst of your shaking, you can still operate from an above the line mentality. You can still operate in a way that allows you to live courageously or to show courage, right? So ask yourself this question. How are you responding to fear? With courage and acknowledgement, or are you accepting what fear gives to you? Don't ignore the fear. Don't believe the people that say, oh, you just push the fear away, become fearless. Acknowledge it. Name it. Here's what I name mine, right? I name my fear. I name the shakes. I call it pre-performance energy. So many people, so many leaders have fears and they have the shakes and they try to ignore them or they try to push them away. But when you acknowledge your fears, when you acknowledge the shakes, you connect to people who may be experiencing the same thing themselves, right? You don't lead by never shaking. You lead by standing in spite of the shakes, doing it anyway. So let's walk through our transformations for the week. So here's number one. I just mentioned this. Name your nerves. Acknowledge what scares you before you speak. Name it, right? I've called mine pre-performance energy. It's not nervous. Robert, do you get nervous when you speak? Nope, I get pre-performance energy. Robert, are you anxious when you speak? Nope, I get pre-performance energy. Robert, how do you get rid of the butterflies? I don't know. I get pre-performance energy. That is my name. That's how I've named it. Right? We're running out of time, people. We're running out of time. All right. So name your nerves. Number two, share a real moment. Share a real moment. Be intentional about that. This week, when you have your meeting, your next meeting or your next talk, share a challenge or a mistake that you've learned from. Share something share a time that you blew it and you learned a lesson from it. Right? Then the last thing that I want you to do this week is I want you to practice courage reps. Do one small shaky thing each day. Speak up. If you're nervous about speaking, if speaking makes you a little bit queasy, speak up. Share an idea in a space or in a meeting or in a conversation that you might normally have. Record a video. One of my people on here, Kendra has taken on this commitment to record 28 videos, right? And before that, she wasn't really recording anything. Record a video. Do something out of the norm each day. Do one small shaky thing each day. Confidence grows through repetition. Confidence grows through repetition. Listen, y'all, we are running low on time, so let's land the plane here. After this at 8 o'clock, let me make sure that I get this on screen here. At 8 o'clock, if you want to continue the conversation, join me for the MINDSHiFT Monday level up and go to mindshiftmonday.com/Zoom. We're going to talk about how vulnerability is your greatest strength in leadership. Okay, so join me. Let's talk about what resonated with you today. So let's see if we can land the plane here. The world doesn't need a perfect you, y'all. It needs an honest you. In my book, Find Your Voice, 28 Secrets to Inspire You to Speak Up, I share this statement. If your life was perfect, then your story wouldn't be interesting. What does this mean for you? Well, it means that you're going to go through and experience some emotions that may feel like you're the only person experiencing them. But really, you have not and are not the only person. You are not in isolation. Even though the world might make you feel like it, or you may want to make you think that you are not in isolation. Instead, your imperfect life is the seasoning that someone else needs to make their entree edible. I'll say that one more time. Your imperfect life is the seasoning someone else needs to make their entree edible. Help them out, will you? Be vulnerable, be courageous, Speak up even while you are shaking. Hey, my friends, if you love the messages we share each week and you want a reminder when we're live, text live to 240-557-8679. Grab Find Your Voice on Amazon. Yeah. And lastly, don't forget to join me in the after show today to talk more about this topic. Head on over to MINDShiftMonday.com/Zoom. Until next time, what's inside of you determines what comes out of you. Or as I always say, my friends, change your thoughts, change your world, change your story. Thank you for joining me on the MINDSHiFT Monday. I'll see ya in the Zoom room right now. Hey, come on. Alexandria Nicole, thanks for joining. Udine, thanks for joining. Good to see y'all this morning. Who else is in the space? Dr. Lorenda Jones, yes. I do. Yes. Milton Dodd. Yes, Milton Dodd, your imperfection is the seasoning someone needs to make their entree edible. That's right. Yeah, SG, Froze45. Good to see y'all this morning. Hey, y'all, let me get out of here and jump on over to the Zoom room. Join me. Peace.